idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance, a community soon arose. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. The walls are thin, the sirens blare, the tables sit near folding chairs, the stage is set with paint and glue, and love went into every screw. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. Hearing room, a listening room, you're welcome here, so have no fear. The hearing room, come in, my friend, where art can bloom. And welcome to the Woodshed podcast. Haven't been on for a while, and that's due to mostly COVID. But I'm back with somebody who is been going to some of the hearing room open mics and other stuff, from what I gather. His name is Chris Steele, and I think we're all going to enjoy hearing his stuff. And I wanted to mention the status of the hearing room, which is we are looking actively for a new location. And we have lots of stuff still going on in Zoom. We have the same events pretty much that we always had. There's a few exceptions that we haven't been able to keep going. But we do have open mic Sunday at 2 to 5. That's when I do. And Tuesday, we have one in the evenings. So there's that. There's Wednesday, Let's Have Words. And there is Thursday Jam. Although the jam is not exactly a jam, we're working on that. We're playing with something called Jamulus, and if you want to know more about that, just check out the website, and we'll keep you up to date. The website, by the way, again, is hearingroom.net, and we've got a lot of stuff still going on, so please keep in touch, and we'll let you know more as we know it. We also want to thank the Greenville Junction shop, which is now open. The official shop. It's not just online now. Now they have a shop that is open in Greenville, New Hampshire. That's the location of the shop. So you can check that out. Look them up on Facebook for more details about getting to the shop and all that. And again, the spelling of that is Greenville, Greenville, Junction, Junction, Shoppe, Shoppe. They have a lot of cool stuff there. I've been to the store. They have things like clocks and furniture and weird knickknacks and cars, like little toy cars and all kinds of stuff. You just have to go check it out. There's some games and jewelry. I mean, it's a very eclectic amount of stuff. It's just a lot of different things that you can go check out. And you can go talk to Mark at the store. So please go to Greenville Junction Shoppe. All right, so now we're here with Chris. And Chris, how are you doing?
Doing well, Aaron. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real pleasure to be able to do this here with you.
Yeah, I'm very glad you reached out. And Let me learn a little bit about you. Where are you from?
So, where I am from is a little bit of a I'm down here in Newton, Massachusetts, but I'm a Jersey kid by way of New York and North Carolina along the way, and I'm also a traveling man by what I do for a living. So I end up showing up in very unusual places. But as I say, I'm out here in the western suburbs of Boston, and this is really where I've been going around and getting my musical chops back together again after a long hiatus.
So when did you start playing out?
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, like a lot of us, I played a lot when I was in college back down in Jersey, including with a band of friends of mine. And then, life goes on, and you have kids and you have a job, and during the day that starts to take up a lot of your time. And I started to recognize that this whole musical part of me was something that was being neglected, and it was something that I did not want to persist. So had always been writing songs. I felt it was time to actually start to bring those in front of people again. Started to record those maybe about 6 years ago, and then about 3 years ago, started to come to some of the local open mics here in Newton, and just found this community just kind of accidentally. I didn't think it would happen. I didn't even imagine that it was a thing that could happen. And I've just made so many good friends from it, and we're constantly just listening to each other and cheering each other on, and quite honestly, kind of broadening the horizons where we were saying things along the lines of, boy, you know who would like your music, who would love your music, or have you tried this with what you're doing? So, short answer to your question, which I've just made very, very long,
That's all right.
I've been playing out again about 3 years. And it's, again, as I say, I travel for business quite a bit, so it's something that I've been able to take with me as well.
And what's your business?
So I work as an economic development consultant. I work with communities kind of all over the place, helping them to figure out how to create jobs, how to support small business, and how to remain true to who they are as communities, but at the same time find a way to compete in the global economy is, kind of as we say, the elevator speech, which is a term that just I abhor. Yeah. But what it does mean is that I get to spend time in these wonderful, wonderful towns all across, particularly all across North America, where I take my guitar with me. One of the great things that I have found is that you can, particularly with the things that we do, particularly as singer-songwriters or things of that nature, you can take your guitar with you. You can find an open mic in anywhere, and make a dozen friends. Right. And even the people who are, thinking, oh, okay, we brought this consultant in for whatever, and you start saying, well, that's true, but hey, listen, come with me to a bar. We're actually going to do an open mic here. Like, really? Wow. So I've played. It served me well everywhere now, from Boston to Maine to Indiana to Alberta. It's worked great.
Yeah, there's a really interesting book written by Dar Williams a few years ago. Did you read that?
But I'm familiar.
Yeah, it's What I Found in 1,000 Towns. And essentially it's about her going and playing little clubs like the Hearing Room in all these little towns, and how the music is still alive in these little towns. And it's really what folk music is just people playing for each other.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's cool. What did you find in 1,000 towns?
Well, let's see. I think probably. Well, I'm just trying to think. The smallest town I've probably played in was just outside of Indianapolis, and I was there for a conference, and the last thing I wanted to do was stick around with the conference folks for that night. I'm like, I'll see you guys in the morning. Ended off going to this little open mic, and it was mostly local neighborhood folks, but the open mic had itself a little bit of a reputation. So there were people that were coming through town that just made a point of going to this very small, only about 20 people there, but we were all there kind of playing music for each other, but also talking a lot about the places that we were from and the things that we were trying to do with our music. Most of us were just there to, play our songs and express and whatnot. There was one group of 3 young women that were there that were trying to make a go of it, and before they wanted to, go professional, they wanted to be able to hone their craft on the road in front of all kinds of different audiences and get as much feedback as they could. I just thought it was such a wonderful experience being able to see something like that right at its genesis, right at its beginning, and they were really good.
And what town was that?
Bless me, I can't remember the name of the town, but it was just east of Indianapolis itself.
Oh, yeah. Because I used to hang out there when I was a kid. There was a town called Zionsville, and that's where my camp was. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, anyway, that sounds like a lot of fun, and so the open mics at the Hearing Room. Have you been going to the Tuesday one a lot?
I've been going. So here's what has happened during lockdown. I've been going out and just trying to find as many open mics as I could. When lockdown happened, obviously that kind of shut down. I saw a lot of people around me that actually have music as, their one of their main sources of income. So both because I enjoyed their company and also because I felt it would be good to get people together to just compare notes, I started up my own little kind of a song circle kind of a thing. And through that, people kept saying, well, listen, if you want to keep doing open mics, there are all kinds of these different things. And somebody actually said, hey, listen, Chris, you always wanted to do Hearing Room. You can still go ahead and do that. It's available virtual. So that's what I ended up. It was one of the early Tuesday night ones that I started to go to. Not that long after that, I ended up picking up a regular Tuesday night virtual gig. So unfortunately, that's been a little bit of a conflict for joining you guys more regularly. Yeah.
Well, it's there when you want it. And we always have people. It's amazing. There's always somebody coming to the open mic, and we have people from all over the world. I mean, we've had people from England. Yeah. I had a lot of people from out west, California and New Mexico, and had people from one guy from Hawaii. I mean, it's interesting. Even had somebody from the Czech Republic, and we had a whole concert from Uganda, where I met a guy who was able to do it through his phone, because apparently that's how they get internet, is phone minutes, and it was pretty cool. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. It's cool to be able to be a musician and participate. What did you do before this? It was just open mics, or were you making albums? Anything? I
was doing recording. I was making albums, putting up a lot of stuff to SoundCloud, cut a CD or two. And I got to the point where I was recognizing that what I was really enjoying was, I love the songwriting. I do like recording, but it's not the same if you don't have people in front of you that are reacting to what you're doing. You want to make sure that what you're saying, what you're singing, what you're playing, that it's meaningful to somebody. So it was really that at that point of this recording stuff is all well and good and whatnot, but it's kind of isolating if you don't know that it's actually connecting with somebody. So that's really what drove me back out to get back into the open mic scene and say, in particular, let me play some of my own stuff and see if it actually resonates with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best part of these open mics is going and hearing stuff by people.
Absolutely.
It's not cookie cutter produced. It's a real person who's just trying to express themselves. And, now you can do it with your computer and it sounds pretty good. And there's a lot of people who are doing recordings and then promoting them by going to these open mics, and it's great. So how many do you have out? Anything?
Well, I've got a lot of stuff up on SoundCloud. There's an album that I put out when I was not fully comfortable with kind of what I was doing a couple of years ago. I put out something under the band title Stealing Time, Steeling Time. found out after the fact that there was another band in Australia that was actually using the same title. So you'll notice there are two albums for two very different things. I've gotten a lot more comfortable in putting stuff out under my own name now. So there's actually a couple of things I'm going to be putting out as singles in the next couple of months. But still, if you go to my website, there's a whole media page that takes you through to a lot of the things that I've recorded.
Yeah, what's your website?
It's very simple. It's just Chris Steele Band, so ChrisSteeleband.com.
Okay, good. So people can go check out your stuff and buy your album and
absolutely
donate to the artist, all that kind of stuff. So how did you get into economic development? What does that entail? You're consulting, and I mean, it's always interesting because people need that, especially now, because we're kind of stagnant. So what do you do?
So weirdly enough, there is kind of a crossover to the music side of things. I'll get to that maybe in a second, but I grew up. I was one of those nerdy kids that would be pouring through encyclopedias and atlases all the time. And I remember as a kid, there was one atlas that I had, this Atlas for Youth, that had these acetate like foldovers on it that would show you how a place changed over time because of its interactions with people.
I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I didn't realize that there was a career that actually went along with this. Nobody tells you that.
Right.
But I kind of happened into it. I got out of undergraduate, and the career path that I thought I wanted to go into, which was psychology, I worked a little bit, and I realized to be a really good psychologist, particularly a child psychologist, you have to be able to shut that off at the end of the day and not kind of take that everything that you have experienced in the day home with you and kind of like ruminate on it. So after coming to that awareness, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have to rethink my career plans. But as an undergraduate in psychology, you learn statistics and you learn a lot of computer programming along the way. And there was an office that was looking for somebody that knew how to do some computer programming and some statistical analysis. I'm like, well, I guess I'll do that for a summer. So one way of looking at it is that I'm multiple decades into my summer internship and doing what I'm doing here. I learned through that there was an entire career around learning how places change over time and to give them the tools to be able to find their own path forward in that. And that's economic development.
That's also Star Trek, so that's good. Isn't that the Enterprise's mission? They don't interfere, but they give them the tools. So that's great.
Not for nothing. I'm going to adopt that.
It is. It's Star Trek. What do they call it?
Well, the Prime Directive, of course.
Yeah, the Prime Directive, not allowed to interfere with the culture that's currently existing. And you can't help them win the war against the evil people who are attacking them or whatever, So, or the aliens or whatever. But yeah, so welcome to Starfleet. And,
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, so that sounds cool, though. Where do you do this typically? Is it you say you travel around, but is it little towns typically that you need to help, or is it cities?
It's a big mix. I've worked with small towns up in Maine like Millinocket and Calais and Ellsworth. Elkhart County out in Indiana was a community that I worked with for a long time. Really fell in love with them. Great people. Done a lot of work all up through Canada, particularly through Alberta. And it's big towns like Edmonton and Calgary, and it's also small towns like Sturgeon County or Grand Prairie or Wetaskiwin. So it's a huge spectrum of communities that you work with.
Yeah, I lived in Toronto for a bunch of years.
I'm jealous.
It was good, but that's where I went to college. So there was
U of T?
No, York.
Okay.
Which is it's more of the liberal arts at York. U of T is more sciences. So I was doing an English degree. But they have this place called Yellowknife up there in the Northwest Territories, and that always fascinated me. Like, that would be a cool place to do economic development, where the native Canadians are. And I did a radio television degree, and I had to listen to a lot of radio, and one of the radio stations I used to listen to was up in Yellowknife. It's all country music. That's what they seem to like up there. But it's interesting that you get to travel to all these cool places. What's the most interesting place you've been?
I'm just trying to, honestly, probably the most unusual place that I also actually really enjoyed was Amman in Jordan.
Oh, wow.
That was just fascinating. And the people there are wonderful. And by the way, if you ever want to just like eat a lot, they have, if you find yourself in Jordan, make a friend, make a Jordanian friend, and have them take you out for mansaf, which translates as a big deal. And it is a hot table that is covered with rice and all kinds of meats and yogurt sauces and all kinds of things and these freshly baked breads. And it is just a delight. And there is nothing quite like walking around in the middle of Amman and realizing just how much history has happened around you, millennia of history.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Middle East is a fascinating place. I've never been to I technically was in Israel, but I've never really been to the Middle East. I was a year old, so it doesn't really count.
I've been to other places like Madagascar, a couple of different locations in China and whatnot. But of all of the true exotic places, I loved Jordan. Jordan was just such a wonderful, wonderful place.
Now here's a question: did you bring your guitar and did you play it?
I didn't. But the funny thing was, and I was thinking about that. I was actually with one of my guides, my client, a woman by the name of Raya, as we were walking along, and she was pointing out the different corner cafes. She says, "See, Chris, you could come next time. You come, bring your guitar. You can go and play it."
Yeah, it's amazing. I know a few people that have been traveling, and one person I know played Czech Republic at an open mic, or Japan, and you can go anywhere, and they have English open mics everywhere too. That's the weird thing. And I had some friends going to Germany for an English open mic, and
So I for a while I had colleagues that were in Shanghai. Oh. And two of them were American, one of whom was a guitarist, and she was saying that she had actually gone to multiple open mics in Shanghai, where, again, English speaking. Mm-hmm. So she was also very up on the concept, next time you come back, please bring the guitar.
Wow. Well, music is international for sure.
Indeed.
Speaking of music, it's about time for a song, don't you think?
Sure. I think that would be good.
So what are we going to hear?
So I've got a whole bunch of different things that I could play here, and I was trying to figure out what would be a good thing to kind of start off with. And I think probably the thing I'm going to start off with is a very, very, very old song of mine that I wrote really just when I first started writing songs. So I'm just going to give you this as a little bit of an introduction, but it is a travel song. Mm-hmm. It is a song about taking the bus from northern New Jersey into Manhattan to meet somebody who is ostensibly your girlfriend, but not quite yet. So this is a song called Bus Ride, and it goes like this. I got change for the red and tan. Now I'm ready to go, and I could make it on my own. But I want you to know that though your letters, they keep me company, I won't stay sitting still, I'm on a bus ride. I'm on a bus ride. Well, I'm not ready for no long-distance love affair. I just can't explain, honey, just need to get there. And all your letters, they keep me company, I won't stay sitting still. I'm on a bus ride. I'm on a bus ride. Got my window seat, got my sights to see. Got to get you, lose him for me. And though your letters will keep me company, I won't stay sitting still. I'm on a bus ride. I'm on a bus ride. Letters keep me company, but I'm not sitting still. I'm on a bus ride. Thank you very much.
So that was great. I actually have a similar song I wrote about in Italy. I wrote a song called High Speed Train about trying to fall in love, but the train's going too fast and you don't have enough time. So different, but I like that concept. It's great. And buses are so non-romantic, but romantic in a way. And actually, Harry Chapin, Greyhound? You heard that one?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great bus song, too. I like that one.
It really is. Yeah, everything's about context, right?
Right. And it's all about meeting people and having connection. So that's a good concept to put into a song.
Absolutely.
So true story or no?
That is, in fact, off a true story. As with many of my, I'm not sure if you have this experience with songwriting. It's either the entire song comes to you all at once, or you kind of agonize over the song for a little bit. Mm-hmm. That song was an all at once song, literally, as I was walking to the bus stop in the middle of my little town in Bergen County, New Jersey. Everything, including the basic riff and rhythm and the verses. Mm-hmm. By the time I actually got to the bus stop, I was just trying to find a pen and paper to write it all down.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
That's always more fun when you can barf it out like that.
Yeah. Have you ever had that experience where like you've got the song and it's like, I've got to get someplace where I can write this down, otherwise it's going to be gone.
Oh yeah, of course. In the car usually.
Yeah.
That's why it was so cool when they made the easy recording on the iPhone. You could just, the Note app where you can just like start recording and sing a couple bars and then, okay, now I got it.
Weirdly enough, there's another song that I'm going to want to play for you later on that it came out exactly from that kind of a situation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, can't wait to hear it.
Great.
In fact, why don't we hear it now?
Okay. Well, one of the things I was thinking about before, we've been talking a little bit about this entire concept of community. One of the things that I've enjoyed is kind of a strange word for it, but that has meant a lot to me over this time of pandemic and of quarantine is, again, being around a lot of my friends, and particularly my musician and songwriting friends, and just hearing how everybody's doing okay. It's coming out in their music in a lot of ways. Linda Marks is somebody who's written quite a few songs about what it has meant to her and what it's meant in terms of the people around her as they have either gotten sick and gotten well, or just kind of the concepts of being alone and being isolated. Mm-hmm. There was one of the things I do on a regular basis is to donate blood when I can. And as I was driving down to Dedham a couple of months ago, there was just this thought in my head of the pressure of the isolation, a couple of things that were happening in my work life that were not great. And just thinking to myself, well, how are you doing today, Chris? I'm like, well, boy, I am not well. And this conversation just started in my head. I was like, well, how are you? You look great today. Well, okay. You look great too, I guess. It's hard to say from so far away. And that phrase just entered my head, and I'm like, gotta write this down now.
Yeah.
So you did exactly that thing with the note, and then the whole lyric came at once. The music came a couple of days later.
Okay.
But the whole lyric came at once. So this is a song called I Am Not Well. How are you? You look great today, they say. Okay, well, you look great too. I guess it's hard to say from so far away, but what can you do? Word on the streets, a poison tree to haunt my wounded soul. I must repeat my daily feat of getting through it all, but I'm a mess of deep regret and fear you'll catch it if you get too near. But for all the things I try to soothe, I'll tell the truth. I am not well, I have fallen down, waiting for the better times to come around. I am not well, I am down a hole, can't make me sound, can't make me whole. I didn't choose to be this way, I want to heal, but I don't know how. Is there room in your life for me? 'Cause there's space in mine right now. The night is dark, my light is dim, fear is real and hard to resist. I'm sorry for my mirthless grin, life's too short to feel like this. So listen to my truthless rhyme as I fret and try and pass the time. But for all the things I try to soothe, I'll tell the truth. Things should be like this, God, I miss the simple treat of walking on and finding friends along the street. Things should be like this on the face of kindred hearts, instead of stumbling on alone by fits and starts. Things should be like this, things should be like this. Well, how are you? You look tired today, they say. Okay, well, thanks for that. I guess it's hard to stay bright and shiny all day with where everything's at. I am not well, I have fallen down, waiting for the better times to come around. I am not well, I am down a hole, can't make me sound, can't make me whole. I am not well, I am not well, I am not well, can't make me sound, can't make me whole.
Great.
That's a fun one.
So that was a good one. I've heard a lot of people do similar things where there is a lot of frustration and pain with not being well and not I think there's an artist I had on here who she wrote one in particular that was about not being well and not being okay, and that's kind of the it's a theme I think that comes up a lot during COVID, but it's sort of an angst we all feel in general too in this country. We're not well in a lot of ways, medically, mentally, physically, politically. Everything is not well. But was it ever? I mean,
it's you raise a good point. I mean, certainly we're in a point where all of those things are really concentrated, and also we can't escape from them. There's not a lot of just being able to go out and kind of, do some of the things that we would normally do to, on the one hand, you can maybe say distract ourselves, but also heal ourselves. And it's not as available to us. So we have to find other ways of doing it. So for those of us that are creative, I think it has definitely given us a lot more impetus to create and to do the things that we love. For me, it's been an incredibly productive time of songwriting, but it's also been, I've been baking and putting on the pounds that go along with that. I've been upping my cooking game. When it's not, ridiculously cold outside, we've been doing a lot of exploring of just wonderful, natural areas here within Massachusetts, everywhere from here out to, the Quabbin Reservoir. And it really, on the one hand, it's been a tough time. And on the other, I'm really hopeful that we've maybe increased our toolkit of the things that we can do to heal and to keep ourselves whole and to become, more complete humans once we actually do have access to each other again.
Right. And I think we'll maybe not take it so much for granted.
Not for granted.
But yeah, I have been exploring lately too, and I had the same problem of putting on some COVID weight, and so I've been trying to take care of that. And at the same time, we just got a dog, so I can have an excuse to walk the dog every day, several times, and so it gets me out there, gets me exploring, and when it gets nicer, it'll be even better. Right now, it's trudging through a lot of snow, but
trudging through a lot of snow and remarking who shovels their walks and who doesn't. Yes.
Yeah, that too. And who picks up dog poop and who doesn't as well.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah,
and then, yeah.
So, I do, by the way, but
excellent.
Yeah, I'm very conscientious about that because I've stepped in it. So that's
so many times.
A terrible, terrible feeling. But
and that definitely happens. We've got a lot of, even though we're within metropolitan Boston here, there are still some wonderful natural areas that you can go and explore. The problem is that in fact everybody else is also going ahead and exploring them as well, and
right.
That concept of picking up after dogs seems to be a fairly ubiquitous problem.
Yeah. Well, there's we're so concentrated in New England too. That's part of the problem. Is there's so many people, and so many need to get out and see nature, and there's a limited amount of places. I'm up in New Hampshire, so it's a little bit more spacious out here, but not where I live. I'd still have to drive a bit to get there. You can go out west too and see a lot of stuff and have a lot of space.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of stuff that goes along with not being well, and I appreciate that sentiment. So I thank you. And you got another one before we take a break?
Sure. And actually, I'll go with I'll keep going with that theme. And actually, this one's a little bit more hopeful. This is a song that I actually just finished recording a couple of weeks ago, and I've got a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Terrence Reeves, who's been doing the mixing on it. And this is one that's going to be released in a little bit. This is a song called Home, and this had its genesis of a sleepless Friday night, as I was kind of thinking through the concepts of not being able to get home for Thanksgiving and things of that nature. And two things were going on at the same time. One is I had a friend of mine from growing up who was playing on Facebook every cover version he could think of the Talking Heads' "This Must Be the Place," Naive Melody. And so that rhythm was stuck in my head. It was absolutely stuck in my head. And then the thoughts about well, what does it mean to not be at home while also being at home? And it just kind of started this whole philosophical thing in my head. 3 o'clock in the morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, and I just can't get to sleep. And all of a sudden, this lyric starts to form itself to the rhythm of "This Must Be the Place." Came out here to this room, and again, the whole lyric wrote itself. A couple of days later, the music came. And this is let me just make sure I'm in tune here. And this is the song that came out of it. So this is Home.
Okay.
What if home is where we cannot go, 'cause we're already there? What if we're so busy trying to find something that's really nowhere? What if love is the thing we want to feel, but we never can find a soul to give us the things that we won't give ourselves? No one can ever know. But I know every moment home to get a little closer to home. I know every moment home, it's just that we'll never know. So what if hope is what we want to feel, but we're standing right over the spot? And maybe a crumb, it may be someone, maybe something or not. Wanting more out of life, expecting and seeing the same. What do you want from your life? Expecting nobody came. What if sons and daughters go wandering and deserts devoid of dreams? What if mothers starve of loving, saying less than they mean? What if pain is less of a default than a lazy view of the world? What if falling out of a lifeboat is more than anyone could? So what if home is where we cannot go, 'cause we're already there? What if we're so busy trying to find something that's really nowhere? But I know every moment it's just a little closer to home. I know every moment it's just that we'll never know. I know every moment we'll get a little closer to home. I know every moment on, it's just that we'll never know.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. So take a short break here. So I'm speaking with Chris Steele, and we're having a great old time. And you should also check out the Hearing Room, though, where Chris occasionally is for the Tuesday night open mic. And you should make sure you go to the website, hearingroom.net, to find out all events that are happening. We also are looking for a location, and we will have it soon. We'll keep you posted on the website and on the Facebook page at hearingroom.net or the Hearing Room Facebook page. And we also want to thank the Greenville Junction Shoppy. Greenville, Greenville, Junction, Junction, Shoppy, Shoppe. The Greenville Junction Shop is a shop that has all kinds of things for sale, gently used items and new items and all kinds of other stuff that you can go and just browse in person in Greenville, New Hampshire. So check out their Facebook page. You can find out the address and more information about the Shoppy. And you can find out more information by contacting them as well. And they have stuff on Facebook for sale in addition to that. So you can always find some good deals that way. I have bought a couple of things from them. They got handy stuff, stuff that you need. I needed a table, and they had one, so I got a table. Simple stuff like that. You never know what's going to turn up. So the Greenville Junction Shop, check them out. And they do sponsor this show, and they're very generous with the Hearing Room as well. So they are worth your effort to seek out what they have. All right. So Chris, you have been playing more recently, you said. You started about 3 years ago. What caused you to start playing again? What was it that kicked you into gear?
Honestly, it was just this. First of all, it was January 1st every year. I put together a little bit of a list of things that I want to accomplish during the year. And not really resolutions. It's actually more of kind of a checklist of plans and things of that nature. And it's a chance to kind of review kind of, what's important to me. What are the things that I want to be doing? What are the things that who are the people that I want to be spending time with? What is the good I want to be able to do? Both for others and for myself. And one of the things that had been on the list for a while is, do more with music. And it took a couple of years, but the concept of do more with music then started to actually take shape. A couple of years ago with the concept of you've got all these songs, do something with them. Do something with them started to be, go out, the technology's there, make sure that you have a recording set and you can actually start to fully write these songs, develop them, bring them into a different realm and then record them. And then do something with them meant, let's bring them in front of people. I'm in front of people all the time talking in front of crowds and things of that nature. I'm a natural introvert, so it's not exactly the easiest thing for me to do. But, over the years, public speaking has become something that I just do, and I've come used to it. I'm like, okay, it's time to open up a little bit more. Let's start taking these things that you have been creative, that are actually not just you being, somebody that's helping out a community figure out a thing. Let's actually share a little bit about who you are and the things that you think and the things that you feel, because there are others out there that might be going through similar things, that are looking for some form of music to be a companion to them as they're going through those things. So let's start putting that out there. It also is going to put you in the community where you can find people to play with. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing quite like that joy of playing along with somebody. It's as much as I love going to the open mics and going and playing my own songs. Another part of my favorite part of that is the just being out there in the audience and somebody saying, "Chris, can you come up and back me up on this thing?" All over it, love it. Yeah. So it's that. After having discovered it, I continually want to do more.
Cool. And you when you play, do you ever play songs related to your work, like economic development in some way? What's influenced that?
Not for nothing, but I didn't think that was going to be an intro to this song. But I've got it. That actually is an intro to this song.
Oh, good. Well, let's hear it.
I've got, it's funny, Aaron, as we're talking about this, I'm looking at my list of songs here that I kind of picked out for today. And, I've actually picked songs off of this now that are not on this list. But here's a song that I wrote coming back from Edmonton, actually just before the pandemic. And I've been doing a lot of work with some of the communities in Alberta as they're trying to transition from an oil and gas economy to something that's more diversified. Mm-hmm. And as I was coming back through Toronto Pearson Airport, I was trying to kind of put myself in the mindset. One of my favorite styles of songs is basically storytelling songs, ones that kind of tell a point of view and kind of can kind of take you through that kind of a mindset. And I put myself in the point of view of somebody that's been working construction and is trying to figure out what to do with a changing economy. And is also realizing the other things that you could do to just, it's a hard life, but it actually pays well. Well, you go up to the oil patch and you start to do that. And if that's not available, what do you do? So this whole song kind of came as I was sitting there in Toronto Pearson, and it started to come together. Interestingly enough, this is one of those songs that actually really benefited from the open mic scene, because when I started first playing this thing, even though it was a virtual open mic, I was starting to play it in front of friends. The first chorus that was in it, my friends, particularly Terrence Reeves and Danielle Penals, were both like, "That's a good song and a really weak chorus. Maybe let's try something else. I know you can do better." So that's where that goes. Anyway, this is a song called "Pulling Nails."
I used up all the boxes, I took out all the trash. I'll get the truck in Brampton, save a little cash. I thought I'd have a future, drywall and driving nails. Still I thought otherwise, bad times and falling sales. They say it's so much harder than trying to save a stash. Can't even find your fortune, digging holes up in the patch. Past times are past the time, lost moments with the hip. Life is a fulsome journey, this here's a sorry trip. And it's time to leave the line. I've had enough of losing. I've seen enough of pain. Old plans worth refusing. I'll make amends. Won't catch me again, because it's only pulling nails. Stuck on the 401, going nowhere with no one else. I'm frozen here in time, still hope my heart can melt. I've laid off my ambitions, I've outsourced my reserve. I've focused all my dreams and the future I had earned. The past is gone. Why should I lie? My path moves on. It's time to leave the line. Your absence makes the presence of everything we came before. I knew I paid my penance when you were standing at my door. I've had enough of losing. I've seen
Thank you.
So, yeah, that was cool. And because I lived in Toronto, I knew a lot of those places.
You know the
so
401 in
yeah.
Brampton. Yeah.
401 was certainly, yeah.
Well, 401 is a place where you're going to get stuck, is really the point.
Yeah. It's pretty busy. But 16-lane highways don't happen in New England so much.
No.
Have you ever heard of Stompin' Tom Connors?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some good story songs. They're kind of country-ish, and but there's one in particular I really like called Tilsonburg, which is about tobacco farming and how it's kind of a similar vein of the working man going out on the tobacco fields and hurting their back, and it's brutal. So yeah, that's cool.
Really cool.
And it's economic development, right? And Star Trek at the same time.
And Star Trek at the same time. There you go.
So, when you went to Jordan, how was that in terms of economic development? I mean, did you have to do a lot of research into how their economy is structured more, and how to address the way that they do business?
Yeah, I mean, it was a completely different level. I mean, think about the things I was talking about before. I mean, in terms of scope, I've done everything, I say again, like working for small towns here in New England, up through, in that case, it was and that they will correct you if you get this not right, but the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan is the full name of the country. So, first of all, one of the things that is unusual is you need to understand that many of the people you're going to be working with, you need to be referring to as Your Excellency or things of that nature. By the way, I made a joke to a really good friend of mine when I came back of I would very much at some point like to have a job where I am referred to as Your Excellency. To this day, he refers to me as Your Adequacy. The other is you're right. I mean, you've got to be able to not just understand kind of what are the things that make jobs and investment in that place, but also the culture of how do people make decisions? How do people work together as a community? How do they interact with each other? One of the worst possible mistakes you can make is to come in as an American and give American advice. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to impart what it is that you have learned in a way that is going to work for them. Mm-hmm. So one of my clients actually said this to me once. He said, we'd been going around and doing things for about 2 days. And he said, Chris, we've been going around for 2 days and you actually haven't said anything. What do we need to do? And I said, well, here's what I've been doing over the past 2 days. I've been listening and I've been watching this. I said, here's what I've learned. And I just rattled off things at him for about 20 minutes and saw and showed him how it all fit together. He's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
You need to just be able to shut up and listen and to watch for a while and to not try and impress people with what you know.
Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of countries I think about needing your services, like my friend in Uganda, for example. I mean, Uganda is had a lot of problems in the past and still does. But he's always talking about how they need money because they just don't have basic needs met. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know how you begin to approach a situation like that. So I don't know, if you were told, go to Uganda and fix it, what's the approach you take? How do you even start?
Weirdly enough, I actually have a little experience with a similar problem, which was, I mentioned that I'd been in Madagascar. January last year, just as hey, something's happening in China we should pay attention to. We were over in Antananarivo, the capital of Madagascar, doing some basic training for the Madagascar Investment Bureau, and they didn't have the money for it. The money came from the African Development Bank. The ADB actually has resources available for doing exactly these kind of things. Everything from that training of understanding of how international capital flows work, how decisions are made, through to the investments in basic infrastructure that you need, investments in workforce development, investments in roads and in telecommunications. So there are resources that are out there, but very often, I'll tell you, the biggest problem that so many of these places have, it's the, where do we start? You know, what's the first thing that we do?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other is that I did some work in Haiti a couple of years ago, and it was heartbreaking in a lot of ways. Port-au-Prince is actually one of the hardest places I've had to visit, but where there's, you know, possibly the greatest opportunity for things just getting better at some point, just because they're so bad now. We had somebody as part of our team that had been part of the previous administration, and she explained it pretty succinctly. She said, you know, we were here for 2 generations of dictatorial rule, and then we had an earthquake, and then we had 2 major hurricanes, and then we had an earthquake again. We've never had a chance to learn how to fix things ourselves.
Right.
So that was the first step that they were trying to do.
Yeah, that's you know, with all the problems we perceive here in the United States, I think you know, we look at other countries as if they're so different, but really they're not, you know, and these are just people who are trying to make a living day to day like we are.
Right.
And keep their families safe and all that other stuff. And we take that for granted, but it's something that really is quite rare if you look around the world.
We are incredibly, incredibly blessed and lucky.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility to continue to be stewards of it.
Right. And, you know, I'm impressed with the work you do. I think it's cool. What were you studying in school to get there? I'm curious.
Well, this basically kind of tells the path of the, you know, people that end up in my career very, very rarely know that it exists. And you don't actually, you know, as I sit there as a 7-year-old say, I want to be an economic developer. You don't do that.
Yeah.
I grew up wanting to, you know, actually do what I'm doing now. But I also, as I mentioned, I loved seeing how places change. I didn't know that there was a career in it. But I figured, well, I like talking to people, and I like helping them, you know, listening to them and helping them kind of see the things in what they have said themselves. So I'll be a psychology major, and maybe I can help people, in particular, maybe I can help kids find their way, because I had my own difficulties as a teenager. We all do. So, and then, you know, after that, as I mentioned, I realized that was actually not a good match to my own personality. But then after that, after I realized that this career was out there, I ended up getting a master's in urban planning, which is in fact the career that says this is how places change over time. This is how you find the statistics to try and figure out how they have changed. And using a metaphor I've had before, it's the, you know, after... You know, when you buy a box of Legos, you go ahead and you build the model that's on the thing, the instructions, whatever, and then you take it apart and try and figure out what you can build next. Economic development is a little bit of the, you know, okay, let's try and figure out what Legos came in the box, and let's figure out what else we can make with them.
Right. That's cool. The you know, and then you, with the Legos, you end up with a box. Yep. That's full of all the Lego sets you've ever had. You can no longer build what it says on the directions because it's mixed in with all the other Legos. And so now you have a big box of Legos and you just start making very fantastical things. So, yeah, that's kind of a cool way of looking at it. So urban planning is an interesting field, too, because I was influenced a great deal by something I read in an urban planning course, which was related to, I was doing science and technology studies, and urban planning, somebody was teaching something related to technology and urban planning for technology. And one of the things that we had to read was Bowling Alone by Robert D. Putnam, which is a fascinating book about how we no longer go bowling.
Right.
And what that says about our culture is that we don't bowl anymore. We don't join teams. We do everything on our own. And that technology is sort of doing that to us. And now we're in COVID, and boy, that's relevant. You know,
it is incredibly relevant, but it has actually. Bowling Alone is actually, it's a fabulous book, and I think it would be great, you know, if more people read it. One of the things that I have been noticing during COVID is that it's not the bowling leagues and it's not things of that nature, but we are, or at least I am. I'm finding different things that are kind of filling that ish kind of a role. Some of the open mics are bringing that kind of regular community back. But there are other things that when I lived in New York, there was a group of 5 of us that used to get together on a regular basis. We'd go play pool. We'd go shoot pool. And then we didn't because life.
Right.
And some of us moved away. I moved to Boston. Another of us moved to Minneapolis. Some of us stayed in Manhattan. Some of us went out to the suburbs. During COVID, one of the 5 of us got the bright idea. Wasn't me, but I'm happy to be along for the ride. Let's get everybody together at least on a monthly basis and just kind of hang out. Mm-hmm. And Aaron, I don't know what it was, but the first time that we did that, at the end of the 2.5 hours that we were all together, my face hurt from laughing so much.
Oh yeah.
It was just that kind of one, and we have really made the effort to do it at least on a monthly basis.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are finding that. I mean, people are using Zoom, obviously, a lot. And, we do our open mics and our events are all on Zoom. Yep. So I think there is this real need for connection. But at the same time, we all thought we would like being separate. And we embrace technology, and we embrace our phones, and we shut other people out by looking at our phones all day long.
Yeah.
And, it's still, we need other people. We can't just look at our phones and just sit in our houses watching cable or whatever, internet. So, the ideas in that book are just really fascinating. And I think it's an interesting field you're in. So,
just a quick thing on the leagues, because it actually just reminded me of something. 2 things that I've done this week. One is I got together with a friend of mine on Tuesday for a virtual lunch. But he and I used to be go-kart dads. That our sons were in a go-karting league together. So not the same as a bowling league, but very similar construct. And there's a whole community that builds itself around that. The kids themselves have, of course, the benefit of doing the league kind of a thing, like you would with a bowling league or with a little league. Mm-hmm. But the parents form their own community around it. And it's remarkable that way. The other thing I was thinking about as you're describing that is that sometimes the technology does provide a little bit of an opportunity. My son's away at university now. He's in his last year at Champlain College. And, we haven't really been able to hang out with each other the same way we would to, for example, go to like a race weekend or something of that nature. But we have a regular Wednesday night date. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we play Sea of Thieves. So we end up being these pirates in this fictitious Caribbean Sea. But it's a chance for us to catch up as we're doing an activity together, like you would at a bowling league.
Yeah, it's my son's really into getting together with his friends. He's 11, but they do Fortnite and they do Minecraft, and they collaborate and they talk. And he's got a headset, with the headphones and the microphone, so he can just talk to his friends on it. And it's very valuable. It's what keeps us connected with each other. And technology can alienate or connect. It's all in the tool, how you use it, and
exactly. Yeah. If you have the chance to be able to actually get together and you're continuing to use it as a crutch, that maybe is not great. But if you can use it as an enabler where we're in these extraordinary times, then it's something else.
Yeah, he's back in school now, thankfully. But it took a while before we felt comfortable sending him. It was really a blessing to have a way for him to connect with his friends, even though he couldn't see them, because we were concerned with seeing them, obviously. Yeah. And maybe we'll get through this quickly. And now that there's a little more,
there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The question is, how much more tunnel do we still have?
Yeah, I hope by summer, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's hear a song and make it cheery.
So this is actually, I'm going to play something. Give me just a second here, because these are relatively new strings, and I just want to make sure everything is still in tune.
Well, they're relatively new strings. They should be in relative tune, right?
Well, they're relative to themselves, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'm going to play a song that I very often play as my opening song here. It is a cheery song. I'll tell you what. I'm going to play. This is not actually on my list here, but it's actually one of my favorite songs to play, and it is a song that I wrote about a year ago about really making the best of everything that's around you, and it's a song called "In a Minor Key." And it came. I was just goofing around with some chords one day, and I was like, "This sounds like something. It sounds like something familiar," and it wasn't. But Jennifer, my partner, she said, you write a lot of stuff that's kind of like whatever, and write something cheery. I'm like, well, okay, I'm writing in A minor, but let me actually play something that's actually, I'll put a lyric to it that's a little cheerier. And I started looking around the neighborhood at people that I knew around here, and then I started writing stories about them, and then I changed them to protect the individuals. So this is in a minor key.
There's a woman that I know who ran a little bar in the town where I used to be. She'd seen more in life than anyone could tell, and more than anyone should see. Never pined for a clear day when a rainy one will do, though I know that others disagree. It's much more than simply making more with you. It's making life in a minor key. Living in a minor key is to shape reality, so your will is yours and truly free. So forget all that you heard, get on in and fly the third, and get on living in a minor key. There's a man lives down the street who screams obscenities, but his heart knows love and life and all. And he'll tell you all of his life's fine philosophies, and of every girl he gave a call. You take the first, I'll take the latter. You don't mind, it doesn't matter. A battle cry played out on the marquee. With a twinkle of his eye, he says, as 40 years go by, that's making love in a minor key. Living in a minor key is to shape reality, so your will is yours and truly free. So forget all that you heard, get on in and fly the third, and get on living in a minor. What's the point of living life? Like the best can never be. Why not go and live your life? 'Cause there's best a jubilee. A jubilee. Yeah. I hope I find a kid, for truly they must be, to finally see the wisdom of my plea, to make a life instead as glory's absentee, and live life in a minor key. Living in a minor key is to shed reality, so your will is yours and truly free. So forget all that you heard, get on in and fly the third. Get on living in a minor, living in a minor, loving in a minor key.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun to play. That's one of those. I love to start sets with that one, and it just kind of gets people into a little bit of a mood. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is peppy.
I'll tell you what. Can I got one more that I want to kind of play. It's another of my kind of openers, and it's just kind of it's something that has occurred to me. So first of all, I want to tell you the idea for some of this lyric actually comes from some of those New York guys that I was talking about. There was some of them had been real theater geeks when they were in college, and some of it rubbed off on me. So there's this entire concept of they are very, very theatrical type folks. One's a puppeteer. One still actually is in a cover band that does all 80s tunes and things, whatever. Mm-hmm. But that concept, particularly as we're in this live stream kind of a concept of the, boy, is there anybody out there that's watching this stuff as we go? This is a song I wrote before the pandemic, but it's really kind of been, it's kind of taken on a different feel for me. If any of our listeners are in fact theater geeks, you're going to notice a lot of theater references in this. But it's also kind of the performer's kind of boy, I hope that there's an audience for this kind of a thing in this. This one's called No One's Coming.
Okay.
There's a room, black as coal, cold as steel, still lose control. Bring good men to steal the plow. Got to fill those seats somehow. With a million eyes inspecting, no one that'll know. When you're standing in the limelight, is there anyone below? Starkest truth arriving, a reality of woe. You know no one's coming, no one's coming to the show. Bring an act with lots of flash, 'cause in this game it's all for cash. Cry a song in this gilded cage, knowing all the world's the truest stage. With a million eyes inspecting, no one that'll know. When you're standing in the limelight, is there anyone below? Starkest truth arriving, a reality of woe. No, no one's coming, no one's coming to the show. No one's coming, no one's coming, no one's coming.
So I think as performers, we all kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
In the hearing room, that has certainly occasionally been the case where when no one's coming.
You do your best. One of the things that I have noticed is you do your best. You put it out there. Somebody comes to it later.
Yeah, and especially with the Zoom stuff, you can always go on Facebook or the web later and watch it. So people don't have to be live anymore, I guess. Though I can't wait until we can be in person again and actually see a live show. But, in a lot of ways, it's allowed people to put themselves out there a lot more.
Absolutely.
So let's hear another one.
Okay. Let's see. I got a couple of choices here. I'm going to do something. How about... So this is one a little bit dreamy. This is one that this is an airplane song. This is a song that got written on an airplane pretty much all at once again. And it was just kind of like staring out the window. And I'll tell you what, if you're a business traveler, you don't actually sit in window seats. You end up in like aisle seats because you're like, I want to get on the plane, I want to get off.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, just my one piece of advice is, even if you do that all the time, take the window seat every once in a while, because just kind of like looking out and just marveling at the size of our world and everything as it goes by is an important thing. This is a song called Clouds.
Time flows in rivers, the phrase as it flows, to threads as it falls to the floor, and all is forgiven beyond all we know. By the time we walk through the door, there once was a dream that I had by a stream, where the stream was calling my name. Too much to believe, that to think all we see can never quite be the same. Can you see like me that whatever will be, and that's all there is? Are all that I see. As children we know all that's true can be shown, regardless our dreams or what's true. So staring at clouds, we can still find somehow what's true for me and for you. Remember the times when I needed a friend, over and over and over again. So I look at the clouds with the sky full of blue and mull it all over and hope that it's true, that as everyone seems to flow through the day, time moves along and goes drifting away when the distance is great, but the love's still so strong. Don't be afraid, 'cause it won't be so long, not so long. You see like me that whatever will be, and that's all there is. The clouds are all that I see. Time flows in ribbons, it frays as it flows, threads as it falls to the floor, and all is forgiven beyond all we know by the time we walk through the door.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you.
So at the end of the show, I like to ask if you have any advice you give to people, young and old, people who, might want to play music, might want to become an economic development consultant, whatever you want to do. But what advice do you give, when you are asked?
There is, particularly with music or with, take any of the other hobbies that I've got. For guitar stuff, I build my own guitar pedals. I'm a baker. I'm a cook. There's an author named Chuck Wendig who writes really, horror and sci-fi and thrillers. And he wrote a bunch of the Star Wars books and things of that nature. But he did a wonderful essay about a year and a half ago. And basically the concept was break stuff. Mm-hmm. The entire concept of do not be afraid to try things. And if you fail along the way, failure just means that you learn something. Just, take the time to not have that become part of the I am a failure, but instead to be the concept of what did I do here? What part of it worked? Because I can guarantee you that some part of it did work. But the things that didn't work, well, why didn't they work? And what might you want to try differently? Get the advice of people around you. Be open to criticism. Be open to figuring out how to make it better. Understand that, even for those of us that have been doing economic development, I've been doing for decades. I'm constantly learning things. I've been playing guitar for over 35 years. I'm taking lessons again. Mm-hmm. It's the concept of there's always more to learn. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. And surround yourself with people that are better than you.
Right. Sounds like good advice to me. You got one more song for us?
I got one more. If this is going to be our takeout on the day, I've got one that I love as a closing, and it's got a wonderful story that goes behind it as well, and it's an Edmonton, Alberta story.
Okay.
This is if you do travel around a lot, you find yourself in hotels a lot, and this is a song that got written literally in the hotel bar of the Marriott Renaissance Inn in Edmonton, lovely Edmonton downtown. But it wasn't exactly the scene that was happening around me, but it was very close to the scene that was happening around me, and just kind of like imagining conversations of people that are there. And in particular, you talk about the advice that you can give for songwriters and things like that, which is never discount the weirdest things that come into your mind. So, for example, there is this concept. I'm looking up at the things in the bar there, and I'm seeing Irish cream, and all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, I hear Vaseline. I'm like, "What is that?" So, just listen for that. This is a song called "All's Well That Ends."
Don't know how I'm 40 hours away. Don't care why my bed's half a world away. She tells me with a voice like Vaseline. Head on the bar, drinking Irish cream. Maybe it's not my bed no more, I don't know. But it's nice of you to listen as to why I had to go. But I never asked a question or even said my name. Just sat there in silence, a friend all the same. And she said, all's well that ends. The simple truth for lovers and for friends. And I may lie to you and say we'll meet again, but Shot comes after shot, bottle after next. Never quite gone, but never breaking for a rest. She tells me of the story and how she left that place, how she ghosted from her life, left without a trace. Yeah, but distance is a poultice, and time can heal most wounds. And if you didn't notice, I'm working on it too. These traps we set upon us, and why I still feel blue. But I stopped to smell the roses and fall in love like I still do. Reflections of the fairy lights shine on the bottle roll. It's getting late, I said, and guess I ought to go. She didn't make a motion to encourage or object, just sat there in silence, longing to connect. Just one more, she whispered, then I'll head upstairs. Then she looked right at me and caught me unawares. Looked me in the eye, looked right through my soul, as the last call bell began to toll. All's well that ends. A simple truth for lovers and for friends. And I may lie to you and say we'll meet again, but all's well that ends. All's well that ends. A simple truth for lovers, yeah, for lovers and for friends. And I may lie to you and say we'll be together again, but all's well that ends.
Well, that is a good closing song. So thank you, Chris, for speaking with me today.
Absolutely, pleasure.
That was a lot of fun. And if you want to see Chris, you can check out the open mic at the Hearing Room. He might be there. And also, it's chrissteeleband.com, correct?
That's right.
Right. Chris Steele, ChrisSteeleband.com. And you can find out more about Chris's music. And is there a good bio there? There's
a good bio. There's also, I mean, I'll tell you, if you guys like the travel stuff that I've been doing here, there's part of my blog ends up being stuff that I've seen as I've gone out and traveled in addition to the music stuff. So that's all up there too.
Oh, that sounds like fun to look at. I'll check it out.
Beauty.
So we are at the close of another show. So please stay tuned at some point for the next one. We will have another one coming up soon. And as COVID starts to end, hopefully we'll do these more frequently. In any case, check out hearingroom.net for more information about the Hearing Room and what's going on. And also the Greenville Junction Shoppy. Greenville, GreenVille, Junction, JUNKTION, Shoppy, SHOPPE. Check it out and see you next time.
If you start with a dream and share it with some friends, the idea deepens and grows. The dream takes